And here we are, back where it all started. When we're afraid, we categorize our responses to fight or flight. But did you know there are two additional responses to fear? Freeze and fawn. Freeze is neither fight or flight. Your brain sort of short circuits and freezes, much like a fawn does when it sees a Ford F-150 barreling towards it at 60 miles per hour. And speaking of fawns, the fourth response, fawn, describes when you respond by trying to appease the thing that's causing fear. I remember when I was a kid, I developed all these weird habits and quirks because I was afraid of pissing off the monsters in my bedroom. The things we were scared of as kids are odd, but perhaps they tell us more about who we are than we realize.
I won't stop until our imagination is made real. You'll understand when this is all finished. And if we don't finish,
Alrighty, full transparency. I know I said in some community posts that the video I was working on was going to be the 2018 release of Suspiria, analyzing that movie. And then I know I said also in a bit more of a recent community, I kind of amended that and said I'd be doing a more lightweight movie before Suspiria. However, while those videos are thoroughly underway, I realized that I always had something planned for the fifth video of this channel, the finale of this first season of Flaw Peacock. The pattern I had in mind after uploading the Skin and Marink video was to cover a movie, a video game, a different movie, then a different video game, and then the fifth video be sort of a general love letter to some general topic. Something a bit more personal, conversational, and a shorter video. However, Faith, the unholy trinity, taking up 3 videos sort of threw a wrench in that pattern, so I'd like to return to that initial pattern by sharing, for this video, something a bit more personal. And also, in the vein of that transparency, the tentative list and order of the movies I'll be covering will be first Jennifer's Body, Suspiria, and then Eraserhead. My fellow David Lynch fans, don't get too excited. Eraserhead will take me a while to get to. And as far as the video games I'll be covering, that is an ever-growing list, and I could not even give you a consistent or really valuable list for what video games I'm going to be covering, but those 3 movies are going to be the next movies I'm covering. Also, before we get into the main topic of the video, I want to give a huge shout out to a couple of fans. Ahloof, which is made this really cool freaking mix, like a Friday Night Funkin'. I've never played the game. I've become a boomer now. But it's a mix. It's a faith-themed mix. You just have to look it up. I'll show you. I'm either going to play a clip or maybe I won't play a clip because I want you to see it yourself. But I'm going to put in the description. It's a really cool video. And another shout out to a fan who emailed me a cute little doodle of like a rendition of me during my faith analysis, and in big circular, Ahloof Samosa. So big shout out to Ahloof, and big shout out to also Annabelle. They did a really good job with this doodle. I'm going to put it on the screen. It's so freaking... It made me laugh when I saw it. And then, yeah, so I'm very tickled by it. We have such a talented, I hate to call it a fan base community. I don't know, respecters? I have no idea, but it's awesome. It's so cool. Anyways, on to the video. I wanted to share with you all the various things that scared me throughout my life, from my childhood all the way into now currently my adulthood. Things that absolutely shook me, dare I say even distressed me, at least in a short-term manner. And yet somehow, despite these very horrible early experiences with horror and media and whatnot, I turned into a huge horror fan as an adult and even as a teenager. Before I had a game plan for this channel, this was supposed to be my first topic I ever covered, first video ever uploaded. And I had filmed it, I'd even edited it, I actually had a whole script written out. This is a whole new thing, an outline I'm doing here. And after being like 85% done with the editing, I sat there and I thought, no one's gonna like this. And I scrapped the whole thing. Because at the time I didn't have my voice yet. I didn't have the whiteboard yet. I didn't have a catchphrase yet even. And I'm honestly glad it worked out that way. because now that there are 10,000, in fact, even climbing almost 11,000 of you out there watching this, it is my hope that we can all unlock childhood memories together, obviously in the realm of fear and horror and spookiness, not only in this video, but in the comment section below. I grew up with YouTube during the era of the star rating system. Smosh was just two teenagers farting around with a webcam. Rhett and Link's biggest sponsor was Alka-Seltzer.
Is it real hot?
And Make Me Bad 35 was assuring us that he wasn't the insane driver, we were. And while you can't prove in a court of law that I sob on a nightly basis that we can't go back to those simpler times, I would at least like the comment section below to reflect those simpler times of early YouTube. Not just being a place where, I'm grateful that you guys gas me up, but also a sort of forum that extends from the topic of the video. We don't really see that much nowadays, but back in the day, I remember YouTube, the comments were usually even more fruitful than the video itself. So that's my goal today, is we can recreate that, go back in time, return to monkey. Today we're going to be exploring how the things that scared us in our lives, in media, evolved over time, from our childhood to our adulthood, or the current time, whoever you are. I wanted to avoid titling this around the theme of childhood trauma, even though it would get me the clicks. It's just not what we're doing here. This really is more of a love letter to the emotion that is fear. I wanted to apologize real quick. While scrolling through my little jury-rigged phone teleprompter that I just shove on top of my camera, like I wedge it in between the mic and the camera lens itself. I must have bumped the lens and knocked it out of focus a bit. I fix it very soon into the video, but I wanted to point it out and apologize in advance. It's just kind of one of the symptoms of having this cramped, jury-rigged, slapped-together operation. Thank you so much for your patience. Some honorable mentions that my friends and sisters have told me about, and I recall too, and perhaps I'll unlock some memories just right now too. The vomiting girl from The Sixth Sense, the whole movie Darkness Falls, the clown episode of Supernatural, Oogie Boogie's death scene from Nightmare Before Christmas, that one got me too. And the whole movie The Witches. Oh man, the list goes on. And by all means, follow along, take notes. Perhaps we can unlock memories together. I wanted to start off with the very first memory I have of being scared. It had to have taken place sometime between 1995 and maybe even like 2000. I mean, really young. It's a silly memory, but I already have an inkling as to why it scared me so much as a kid. This is a bad marker. It's not Large Marge or, hyper-realistic Mr. Krabs. It is the straight-to-TV Disney comedy movie, Rent-A-Kid. Well, specifically the opening scene of Rent-A-Kid. It's a dream sequence where our main protagonists are adopted by a rich family with a mansion full of clowns and cotton candy. One door leads to a carousel. The other door leads to a choo-choo train. But one door is forbidden to the kids. Molly, the orphan who is having this dream, decides to open that forbidden door only to see the adopting parents, the orphanage director, and her two brothers chanting in her face, "It's all your fault. It's all your fault.
It's all your fault. It's all your fault."
Is this movie a horror or a thriller? No. This scene tapped into my child brain, specifically the fear of getting caught doing something wrong and being scolded for it. As a child, I couldn't finish this movie because of this scene, but I'm revisiting it as an adult for the research of this video, and it's actually a really funny movie. It's a kid's movie, like a family movie, but Leslie Nielsen is in it, and every scene he's in is amazing. It's just, he's a great, we lost treasure. He's a treasure, man. As Freddie would say, he's a treasure. This is the earliest memory I have of being scared by a piece of media. I can't have been any older than 5 years old. But before we move on to the first time a movie has ever truly effed me up, I want to give my own personal honorable mentions too. This is gonna be a good whiteboard episode. I'm gonna like this. This is me being creative. Treasure. I want to give my personal honorable mentions to the goblins in the walls in the movie Inhabited, the short Harmony in the anthology TV horror series Night Vision, and the ducks in Magic in the Mirror that turns peoples into tea. I really hope I unlocked the memory with that last one. That's a deep cut right there. I couldn't find much footage online of Inhabited. I recall it being one of the first times I've ever been jump scared though. There's this scene where a character is reaching for a box cutter in some bushes. His hand is grabbed by a goblin and he gets stabbed by this box cutter. You suddenly see a close-up of this creepy goblin, referred to as fairies by the kid in the movie. It came close to effing me up, but once my heart rate got back to normal, I toughed it out. That being said though, it did linger with me for a bit. There's this one Ernest movie. I don't remember if it was Ernest Goes Camping or Ernest Scared Stupid, but I recall this scene where he's mucking about with a tree, and I think he's like climbing in the tree and these animals attack him and he gets tossed down from the tree, and then he turns to the camera and says, "Inhabited."
Inhabited.
He was referring to the tree, but as a kid, I didn't know what inhabited meant, so I just got sort of jump scared, startled by him saying the title of a movie that scared the crap out of me. I guess the fact that the word inhabited was so closely linked to like this fear trigger in my head probably means that the movie did have more of an effect on me than I give it credit for. So I ask you, when's the first time a piece of media, video game, TV show, or movie, jump scared you? My next honorable mention, Night Vision, is an anthology thriller TV show. Each episode features 2 shorts. So one of those shorts was titled Harmony. I don't want to go into this one as much. That's because, number 1, it's on YouTube, and number 2, it's the ending that had such an effect on me. It left me with such a sense of deep dread, likely for the first time in my life. It was the first time I've ever watched a piece of media that didn't end in a happy or triumphant resolution. So I ask you, what's the first piece of media that you've seen that had a bad ending? Wait, hold on. That's Raylan Givens, the U.S. Marshal. On this lonely road, trying to make it home. My name is Jonely Bonely Bodliest of Bodley Go.
What's that clicking noise?
I have just fit 2 completely non sequitur, unrelated, if you know you knows, into one another. We have reached level of Flaw Peacock I never thought possible. Moving on. Now, Magic in the Mirror is a pretty cool fantasy movie. Probably didn't age well cosmetically, but it has a special place in my heart, occupying a similar spot that the 1999 release of Alice in Wonderland occupies. Remember that movie? That's gotta be my favorite take on Alice in Wonderland. Every scene is a fever dream. Now back to Magic in the Mirror. The plot of Magic in the Mirror is a girl falling through a mirror into a Narnia-like land. In this land are a couple different fantastical species, but one is a sentient race of duck people who kidnap members of other sentient races, steep them in boiling water, and drink their tea. And it's known in this realm that peoples, or human beings, that live in the realm on the other side of the mirror, so in our realm, make the best tea. So it's high stakes. This girl is trapped in a world ruled tyrannically by a race of ducks that want to boil her alive. Boil her alive. Now, the ducks look genuinely creepy, and there is a scene where a mirror minders are another fantastical race in this movie, is boiled alive and drunk by these ducks. They make this noise. I remember it in my brain. It freaked me out. But now as an adult, I kind of wished that this movie was revisited, maybe with a bit more of a budget. You know, in my mind's eye, looking back, it almost kind of played out like almost like a shot play. It wasn't very high budget. You could kind of, tell as an adult now, it was very, very low budget, but there was some sort of charm to that. Now, those are my honorable mentions. However, the first movie to ever truly F me up, and in fact, I would even argue the scariest movie I've ever seen relative to the time I watched it, has to go to the American release of The Ring. The movie itself has this overcast, gloomy color scheme. After watching this movie, it seemed that for a year, rainy days left me with a pit in my stomach. Ironically, it wasn't Sarah alone that scared me, but how she left her victims. If you watch the cursed videotape, Samara calls you, or I should say communicates to you through a phone, telling you have 7 days to live. There is a scene where a character is recounting discovering the corpse of the first victim of the movie. There's a quick flashback jump scare of this character opening up a closet door, and the victim's face is mangled by fear, contorted by terror. It flubbernucked me up as a kid. I'm censoring it because it honestly is a pretty distressing image. Just, they did such a great job. I'm going to commit a cardinal sin of horror fanaticism and admit that I actually enjoy many of these United States American releases more than their Japanese counterpart. At least like when I was a teenager and a kid. Or I guess I should say I found them scarier. You're gonna hate my guts. I even like Pulse more than Cairo. And that, even that scene that everybody loves to talk about, I prefer the Pulse method. I prefer Pulses over that. Perhaps it's just, I don't know. Maybe I have to revisit these movies. Perhaps I have to do maybe a video separately comparing and reappraising. This is really a take that I've taken from when I was a teenager. But anyways, back to The Ring. I legit could not sleep for a couple of days after watching this movie. And honestly, I recall having quite a bit of anxiety for a bit of time. It would be brought on by rainy days and hallways. I can't explain that part. I can only recall it. For the majority of my life, The Ring remained the scariest movie I had ever seen. And it's likely not because of the scares themselves alone, but relative to how green I was to horror movies at the time, how off guard the movie's scares caught me as a kid. And there are plenty of great, even better horror movies I've seen since then, but for a while, The Ring remained king. That was until I became a teenager. I must have been 16, 15, maybe 17, and I first watched the Japanese found footage horror movie, Noroi the Curse. Sadly, I can't really get into the plot. You see, I love this movie so much that I'd rather you just see it yourself. It's on YouTube, and if you have Shudder, you could watch it on Shudder too, last time I checked. But honestly, the quality on YouTube isn't that different compared to where you're going to find it on other, streaming services. Again, last time I checked. Still do your due diligence and whatnot, but please watch this movie. It's a long movie, but listen, I've gotten into two, you know me, I get into the comment section. I will, if I can converse with commenters, I will, and I like everything. I heart everything. I have recommended Noroi just independently to two commenters, and both of them came back to me super happy they watched the movie. So I like it, one of my BFFs like it, and two strangers I've met on the internet like it, so perhaps you would like it too. I'm not going to explain the plot. I'd rather you immerse yourself in it, enjoy it, and watch as things develop. I have something different written on my outline. I don't even want to spoil, where things fall towards. Just watch it. It's a good-ass movie. I'll stop right there. And even though, at this point in my life, my horror sensitivity had been hardened, this still remains, I think to this day, the best ending I've ever watched in a horror movie. I hate to do this. I know I just skimmed over Noroi, but I'm going to have to do this again with the next entry. And if you've seen this next entry, you know why. Fire Walk With Me. If you were to ask me, what's a TV show I think all people should watch, I would tell them Twin Peaks. The show makes you feel happy to be human, to have emotions, to be soft and sappy. That being said, it tells a dark story and gets into esoteric areas, but it never loses touch with the humanity, the rawness, the softness of people. And as a post-apocalyptic monk once said, people, it's all that's worth a damn. But we're not talking about Twin Peaks, we're talking about Fire Walk With Me. So, the premise of Twin Peaks is the solving of the murder of local girl Laura Palmer. Fire Walk With Me is a sort of prequel. Not exactly, but many of the events in Fire Walk With Me follow Laura Palmer's final days. Do not watch this in chronological order. Watch this in release order. So watch Twin Peaks first and then watch Fire Walk With Me. If you watch the movie Fire Walk With Me before the show Twin Peaks, not only will you be spoiling big reveals in Twin Peaks, you really would just be dulling the whole experience. I'll die on that hill. I let people enjoy things the way they do, Let people enjoy things. Not this! I'm not going to get into details, because the whole movie itself is very dreadful and scary and damn. But I'm going to put a screenshot right now. It's this scene in particular. And you might be thinking, oh, hold on, you're just showing a screenshot. Is that? No one can expect, no one know, unless you've seen the movie. If you know it, this is the how do I explain it? I was not even able to capture my thoughts on this outline, so I'm just going to go full-blown off the buh. The reason why the screenshot you just saw, or of the movie, the reason why this is on my fear timeline, and this movie, that scene, but this movie in general, and Laura Palmer's plight, stuck with me in the realm of the fear in my brain, you know, that emotion, is because at some point, horror movies, you get desensitized to them. And it's not necessarily the subject matter, it's just that, you know, the gore, the Hollywood depiction of demons, the slashers, the murders, all that stuff, it all stops mattering to you. Not because of the subject matter, but because it's covered in this Hollywood sheen. And things just become serialized, desensitized, dehumanized. Not in Fire Walk With Me. Fire Walk With Me, at its core, depicts the raw horror. I cannot come up with a good word, but except from human tragedy. It's a story that we all know of, and it shouldn't feel special because it's such a sadly common story. But the way it's depicted, the way it's done in such a manner, it's just very primordial. I'm rambling here. I wish I could tell you more. Before you even watch Noroi, watch Twin Peaks, and then watch Fire Walk With Me. That's all And while I've been desensitized to the horror, the scares, the jump scares, the demons, the goblins, the ducks that drink human tea, I am proud to not be desensitized to Fire Walk With Me. I am proud to say every time I watch this movie, there's a pit in my stomach. And yeah, I mean, you can't, I'm proud to not be desensitized to that. I'm proud to be a big baby. Now, this leads me to my final entry of the fear timeline. By the way, are you having a good time? In my writing of the script and in this outline, I kept second guessing myself. What if people interpret this as a filler video? And I wouldn't blame you if you thought that. But I assure you, I had this planned since the beginning, before even Skinamarink and the Faith videos. So I hope you're enjoying. The final entry to my fear timeline is the closet scene in Volume 4 of the Mandela Catalogue. Now, a lot of you have been asking me to cover this series. And listen, many of you have compared me to Wendigoon, okay? And hey, listen, he has great videos, so I take it as a compliment. But frankly, I always thought of myself as more derived from a Mr. Ballin type beat. You know, widescreen, wide aspect ratio version of him. Hold on. If you're into the dark, scary, and mysterious delivered in story format, well, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do. That's all we do. I'm not making fun of it. I love his intros. All right, anyways, where was I? Oh, yes, Mandela Catalogue. Okay, how would I describe the Mandela Catalogue? Imagine you wake up one morning. You go downstairs and you see your sibling is eating cereal, having their breakfast. And so you join them, you eat breakfast with them. You finish breakfast, you go on about your day, and you've completed the day. You go to bed, and you're about to fall asleep, and you hear a strange noise coming from your sibling's room. You go to your sibling's room, you open the door, and you ask them, hey, you okay? And they respond, and they say, yeah, I'm doing okay, I'm fine. So you go back to bed, fall asleep, and you wake up. You go downstairs to notice your sibling's not eating cereal, which is odd because you're typically the late riser. So you get your bowl, have cereal, and you're eating, you're munching away, and you look up to see the feet of your sibling standing in the doorway. Your eyes travel up, and it is your sibling. They're watching you eat cereal. The more you look at their face, something just seems to be off. This looks exactly like your sibling, yet some primordial instinct in your brain is shooting off an alarm, telling you that this is not your sibling. That is because your sibling has been ripped from reality and has been replaced by a doppelganger, this mimetic demon, also known as an alternate. Now imagine your sibling wasn't the first to experience this cruel fate. Imagine Noah, Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, and even the angel, I gave him an upgrade, Gabriel, met this cruel fate. Imagine how humanity's history, redemptive history, would have been changed by this. That is Mandela Catalogue. Ay, caramba. As you can see, I did it again. I dicked around with the camera or with the fake teleprompter and messed with the lens, and now it's out of focus again. I'm very sorry. I'm going to see if I can figure out... I'm definitely going to figure out an alternate way of going about this, but I am seriously sorry for the blurriness. We are approaching the end of this video, so if you haven't seen Mandela Catalogue, okay, before you watch Noroi, Fire Walk With Me, this is a very short, so you could easily consume this and come back to this video. I highly recommend you give Mandela Catalogue a shot. I would hate for you to be spoiled, have these different scares be spoiled for you. So please go, give it a shot, and you can always come back. And if you are leaving, can you do me a favor? If I zelled you some money, could you get me some plain Greek yogurt, please? Thank you. The police chief in hiding, Thatcher Davis, is getting ready for bed. He tosses and turns, trying to find that comfortable spot to carry him into the night. The camera suddenly shows a shot of the closet slightly ajar with a white glint of... No. That's an eye, attached to a face, attached to a creepy smile. An alternate or mad hallucination is peering in at us. We can barely see it, but we can see its mouth forms the shape of a twisted grimace. Thatcher is sitting there, staring at his closet, trying hard to make this phantasm shape disappear into a less distressing object. But to no avail. She's leaning in. You can see a clear face. Her eyes... Her head suddenly shifts down. What the fuck am I doing? Her head shifts down. Perhaps she's trying to scare Thatcher into a state of fear, the means of how alternates attack their prey. But again, this could also be a chronic symptom of overcoming mad or metaphysical awareness disorder. The camera cuts to Thatcher, back to the Phantom, then back to Thatcher, and before the Phantom disappears into the closet's darkness, it leans in one more time, perhaps to make sure that Thatcher cannot convince himself that he's just seeing things. Boink. Open the door, Mo. I have a surprise for you. He opens the door. You see that? Ba-ding. Imagine Three Stooges in the Mandela Catalogue universe. How would that even be anything? That was actually kind of fun. I might just have to cover this series, even though it's been covered to death. I just want to be a part of the fun. Give me the ticket. Let me get on the carousel ride. When I saw this scene, I was laying in bed, and if I peek my head, look straight ahead of across my feet, I look straight into my closet. I was on my phone. That's probably not the ideal way to watch it. David Lynch would kill me for that. I was watching this on my phone, on my belly. The last time any piece of media had given me this deep sense of paranoia had to be all the way back to The Ring. So, bravo, Alex Kister, for ripping it out of my head. When Volume 4 was released, a lot of people lamented the change in style, storytelling methodology, compared to the first volume of the Mandela Catalogue. What we need to realize is that Alex is a young director. This series is his chance to experiment, hone his craft. And you might look at the view counts, the subscriber count, the general renown of the Mandela Catalogue, and you might think, oh, he's an established auteur now. But listen, that's BS, right? It's BS to just think, oh, because it's such a popular series, it's got to be established. This is Alex Kister's time to experiment, to develop his methodology. And listen, I have my gripes with the series. In Volume 2, the voice acting left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. But I didn't care. Because in Volume 2, as revealed in Volume 4, Alex Kister was planting seeds that wouldn't have bared fruit until Volume 4. That is a far more impressive skill to hone versus, sourcing and casting voice actors, which they've gone into their own, as the series has gone on. So, in a strange way, I can't wait for the Mandela Catalogue. In a strange way, I can't wait for the Mandela Catalogue to conclude. That is because I'd hope one day I'll be purchasing a ticket to a movie, perhaps at a local art house, featuring a film directed by Alex Kister. Completely separate from Mandela Catalogue. Or if it was, I wouldn't mind either. Top priority for a young director like that, top priority is practice, practice, practice. Not the fans, we're just there to enjoy it. It's not about us, it's about him, in the realm of art. Anyways, I digress. Oh, hey, it's back in focus. Big ups to past me. This is kind of where it counts anyway, so I'm glad I wasn't stupid at the end. I ask you, when you look at your fear timeline, do you notice a through line, a pattern, if you will? With my fear timeline, now that I have everything in perspective, I noticed a very common through line, starting with The Ring, and really, in a very palpable way, even included with Shudder, One Missed Call, and Pulse, like this through line going all the way from The Ring to the Mandela Catalogue. These various pieces of media don't have a purely mystical evil and don't have a purely physical evil. Not ghosts and demons and not slashers and murderers, but something in between. The Ring, Shudder, One Missed Call, Pulse, Noroi, White, The Cursed Melody. I didn't include that on this board because one day I'm gonna cover that movie too. Fire Walk With Me, Mandela Catalogue. Every single one of these, the evil lies somewhere in the non-corporeal physical realm. Ley lines, electricity, Wi-Fi, internet, waveforms. Did I already say waveforms? And all things analog, cameras, telephones, computers, and VHS, and whatever, anything with the computer screen, with the Mandela Catalogue. That's my through line. Something about the non-corporeal physical evils really gets my butter bread baking. That being said, as much as I love these horrors, there was something particularly fruitful unlocking the early memories. Magic in the Mirror, Harmony, oh man. And all of these, I went down the fattest rabbit hole, and I've been able, I feel like I can sleep better. I feel like I'm at peace with my inner child, just, revisiting these things. I don't know. I'm rambling, sorry. Thank you so much for 10K, and we're already approaching 11K. The next videos are thoroughly underway, but this concludes the final episode of the first season of Flaw Peacock. So from here on out, if my hair is in a ponytail in this Geralt fashion, or, oh, it's tangled, you mother clucker, you, or in this loose fashion, it's just me until further notice. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, good. Honestly, good. I'm not really happy with the meta-narrative that went on in this first season of Flaw Peacock. Perhaps I'll do better next time. Anyways, I'll be keeping all of you in mind. Ma'asalama, sudesutun, hasta luego. I'll see you soon. So I was thinking, let's start a channel where we review various gel products like hair gel, shaving gel, gel pens even, and deign ourselves the kings of said industry. So we'll be the king of gel. No, that's the best part. Gel king. I don't get it. So we'll start every video off with, "Hi everybody, I'm Gel King." Oh, that's pretty funny. I like that. Right? Honestly, I like that better than Flaw Peacock. Oh, ignorant, eh? You see that?